Have you ever heard the saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations? It describes how a family builds a fortune only for their grandchildren to lose it all. But what if I told you that an entire nation, an economic superpower, did the exact same thing in just one spectacular crash? What if 100 years of accumulated wealth, the very foundation of an empire, vanished almost overnight? This isn't a hypothetical question. It's the shocking, true story of the Japanese asset price bubble, a cautionary tale so dramatic it almost sounds like fiction. In the 1980s, Japan wasn't just a country. It was an economic miracle. The world watched in awe as Made in Japan became a symbol of unbeatable quality and innovation. Sony Walkmans, Toyota cars, Nintendo consoles, they were everywhere. Japan was buying up the world, literally. They snatched up iconic properties like Rockefeller Center in New York and Pebble Beach Golf Course in California. At the peak of this frenzy, the Imperial Palace grounds in Tokyo were said to be worth more than all the real estate in California combined. Think about that for a second. A small patch of land in one city worth more than the entire Golden State. The stock market, the Nikkei index, was soaring to heights no one had ever seen. People believed the party would never end. Everyone, from housewives to corporate giants, was pouring their life savings into stocks and real estate. The belief was simple: prices only go up. It was a national mantra. But every bubble, no matter how big, is destined to pop. And when Japan's bubble burst, it wasn't a gentle deflation. It was a cataclysmic explosion. It all began on the last trading day of 1989. The Nikkei index hit its all-time high, close to 39,000 points. Then the music stopped. The Bank of Japan, worried about the insane level of speculation, decided to raise interest rates to cool things down. It was like tapping the brakes on a runaway freight train. The effect was immediate and devastating. The stock market began to plummet. Then the real estate market followed. That land in Tokyo that was worth more than California, its value collapsed. People who had taken out massive loans to buy properties they thought would make them rich were suddenly trapped. They owed far more than their assets were worth. These were called zombie companies and zombie homeowners, technically bankrupt but kept alive by a system desperate to avoid total collapse. The crash didn't just erase the paper profits of the 1980s, it went deeper. It wiped out a century of wealth creation. How is that possible? To understand this, we need to look at how wealth was structured in Japan. For generations, wealth wasn't just about cash in the bank. It was tied up in land and cross-shareholdings between big corporations. Families passed down property for decades, and companies held each other's stock as a sign of stability and partnership. This system, built over 100 years since the Meiji Restoration, was the bedrock of Japan's economic power. When the bubble burst, the value of that bedrock disintegrated. The stocks that companies held in each other became worthless. The land that families had held for generations was no longer a source of immense wealth, but a massive liability. The savings and investments of ordinary people, carefully built up since the end of World War II, evaporated. It was a complete and total reset. The aftermath was a period that Japan calls the Lost Decade, which then stretched into 2 lost decades, and some would argue, even 3. The country fell into a long, painful period of economic stagnation. The national confidence that had defined the 80s was replaced by uncertainty and anxiety. The once unstoppable economic engine had stalled. What can we learn from this? The story of Japan's lost century of wealth is a powerful reminder that "this time is different" are the 4 most dangerous words in investing. It shows how quickly market psychology can shift from irrational exuberance to crippling fear. And most importantly, it teaches us that true wealth isn't just about soaring asset prices. It's about sustainable growth, diversification, and a healthy dose of skepticism when things seem too good to be true. The Japanese bubble is a ghost that still haunts the global economy, a story whispered as a warning whenever markets get too hot. It's a stark lesson in how one crash, one moment of reckoning, can erase a century of progress and reshape the destiny of a nation. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what other financial stories you'd like to see covered. See you in the next one.